come with us?
And be a ghost.
Okay, I'm back in. I want to be a ghost. Put me in, Ethan. That is just the creepiest thing ever, and clearly her real face. I hate it so much. Win! So I was doing this whole thing to compare hands to see if it was really Vanessa at first, but I missed the way more obvious slight camera shift that just shows the blonde hair when they switched spots.
But I swear, your life will always matter more to me than my own.
That's what I'm talking about. Ethan is saying that about himself, but he's also clarifying that's what Ilsa also believed.
In some probable future, it sees you winning, Ethan.
I like it better when Doctor Strange is on our side, but this conceit makes for a really interesting baddie. First time for everything. So if you're wondering why didn't Ethan just jump on the train there, I think the primary reason is that Paris and Ethan are just starting from different locations, but also he was planning to, more or less. He and Benji just picked a different spot to do it. This is a curve where the train is slowing down. Paris and Gabriel knew it would be the last slowdown, Benji didn't.
A man waiting his whole life to be noticed by a woman like you.
Ha! The heart was Palm's idea. That's how real she is. No way that was part of the entity's plan. Bro just wanted to blow the horn. Like, as a kid, he must have always wanted to be a conductor. You know, I don't know why you had to ruin a wholesome moment. Although, I guess this will avoid casualties so people will know to get out of the way.
What if he had a good reason for going rogue?
He always goes rogue.
He does, and it's always very entertaining.
You know, I'm beginning to wonder whose side you're on, Degas.
When it comes to the end of the world, everybody, I guess.
Hero Guy Degas. Hey, good thing we're not at level 5 autonomy yet, or the entity would be driving Benji into a ditch. Love an impossible camera move. There isn't space for another person in that hallway. They must have removed a panel or window on the train. That is the quickest cameo I've ever seen. It's bits like this that get me excited for part 2. Maybe her name is of no consequence, or maybe she's Gabriel's sister. It could happen. You don't know. Seems like a good way to make sure you die. LOL. It is. It is.
You must be the one they call Paris.
So I suspected this right from the beginning because the Dread Pirate Roberts is a master of diversion, but also really it's that other piece of media. It feels too soon to just openly spoil that one for anyone who may not have seen it.
When do I start going downhill?
Won't be long.
Honesty. He will go downhill just faster than he's imagining. Ethan gets an Akira slide. Also, why do we call it the Akira slide? Kaneda does it. Petition to change the name. And it was a real slide up to the cliff. File that under unnecessary risks taken by Tom Cruise due to his unimpeded devotion to realism.
Benji, it doesn't work like that. I'm not that high. There's ledges sticking out everywhere. I'm gonna hit them. I don't know if I can make it across the valley and intercept and land safely on a moving train.
I know this isn't the best stunt Ethan has ever done. I'm with you on that. But I still absolutely love the build-up and his explanation for why it's completely insane and also an impossible mission. A mission impossible 7, if you will.
Jump?
The disappointment on his face at seeing the perfect launch ramp. As if the universe itself is conspiring to make Ethan Hunt do crazy things for its amusement. Still, if Tom Cruise hadn't done at least 3 things crazier than this, we'd all be impressed. And rule of cool applies either way. He does still jump a dirt bike off the top of a mountain and then parachute down to a moving train. Ethan Hunt ex machina, and I love every bit of it, not even remotely planned, which is probably the best defense against the entity. I always love that Ethan Hunt isn't completely invincible, and crashing through a train window at 240 miles per hour does slow him down a beat. So how could the entity have known this exact course of events would happen?
The completed key will lay itself at my feet.
I don't think it did. Lay itself at my feet is pretty vague and also just an expression, but more on that later. And even if you think it's a stupid moment, the score pounds home the emotional payoff that the entity's prediction through Gabriel was correct. Back on top of a train, can't blame him, it's where he feels most at home. Gabriel's ending motif here is so powerful. I'm not sure if it's Gabriel's or the entity's, but at times, especially when it's just Gabriel, his motif sounds like an inverted version of the main Mission Impossible theme. Wow, you should feel honored, Ethan. That's not the first fixed blade knife Gabriel has pulled, but it's the first bushcraft knife, and that's scarier somehow. A little too late this time, Captain Stacy. So this is exactly why we don't have high-speed rails in the US, and only this. Ethan Hunt plus hanging on exterior of high-speed moving vehicle equals win. And I will say that the intensity of the train set piece has been amped way up for this one.
I don't care about him, Hunt. I want you.
That's true love right there. A surprise coming from Mitch Decker, a man who needed to listen to Michael Shannon. love that. It was so slow. Slowest life-saving ever. Also, saving the guy who legit just ruined everything. Honestly, between Paris getting stabbed with a sleight of hand, Grace stealing stuff multiple times and getting out of the handcuffs, and now the lighter showing up again, it's like its own theme. That wink. Fun fact, the camera survived. And that should tell you that they really did this, which they did. It's like rock climbing a slippery treadmill that might explode in a fiery ball or fall itself while you're climbing, as well as the occasional falling piano. It's rough, is what I'm saying. And the speed of this entire sequence. There isn't even time to see most of the train cars fall to the ravine below. They just keep going.
Grace, you have to let go. You
Accurate.
gotta let me jump across, or we're gonna die. Do you trust me?
That's like record time honesty. Saving that guy you just tried to kill for 3 hours, but look at this performance. The look on her face, completely blown away that Ethan didn't kill her, as if Gabriel and the entity told her he would. Is that look on Grace's face seeing Paris? I think it is. Sure, but he also made it happen. As a wise tortoise once said, one often meets his destiny on the road he takes to avoid it. She better be back. I will revolt in the streets. Also, good luck is a bit of a recurring thing. The torpedo, the cryptex, also Operation Podkova means horseshoe, which is good luck.
The harder it is to keep them alive.
Get the camera off Benji while you say that?
Should any members of your team be caught or killed,
Get it off of Benji.
should any members of your team be caught or killed, their sacrifice will have been in vain.
Love the reimagining of the should you choose to accept it spiel. Not a whole lot of choice this time. Before I get into some theories, let's do that fun thing where I talk about stuff I missed in part 1 or y'all liked in the comments or I wish I'd spent more time on because I was trying to keep the pace up on this 3-hour movie, but hey, no one's watching it anyway, so let's indulge. I love the impact that these words visibly have on Grace.
Your life will always matter more to me than my own.
As if she's never had anyone truly care for her. Speaking of Grace, all the sleight of hand stuff was in camera, like actually done by the actors. Also, listening to the commentary is like watching the movie again, but as a silent film, and whenever I do that, the real performances start to emerge, and oh my goodness, Pom Klementieff is a force. She is a presence. I loved her in theaters, but the more I think about Mantis as a character, the more I'm blown away by her performance. Make this woman a star. It's true of most everyone in this film, though. No shade to our veterans, but Vanessa, Haley, and Rebecca are all irreplaceable in their respective roles. Special mention for Vanessa Kirby playing Haley Atwell being Grace, being the White Widow. She's so good you almost feel like you should be giving credit to Haley, which is confusing. Some scenes from the comments that I agree on, the tension during the nuke disarming, especially when Benji realizes the bomb is talking directly to him.
D-U-N-N. It's my last name. It knows who I am.
The bridge and alleyway fight is an amazing juxtaposition between Ethan sparing Paris and Gabriel holding nothing back with Ilsa or Grace. Lorne Balfe's score, which I can probably never talk about enough. Mission Impossible movies always have one audio track on the Blu-ray that's just the score, so you could watch the movie with no dialogue, and it's because the score is its own character. My personal favorite moment is the build-up during Ilsa and Gabriel's fight. Woof. My biggest takeaway from the commentary is the absolute love and care that goes into the production, into making a gorgeous and yet dynamic film, the things we'd never notice, like replacing lights in Venice alleyways so they have more atmosphere, using small handheld cameras to get certain angles, and as always, the passion that Tom Cruise has for this franchise. The man enjoys making art. So, I have some theories. I think the writing in this movie suffers a little bit, and I know that there were a lot of COVID precaution issues combined with the usual Mission Impossible issue of creating a movie around certain things like the stunt and particular things that Tom really wants to happen, as well as actors being promised to other productions that we're all really stoked for, like Dune 2. Also, the more I get into the movie and behind the scenes stuff, I realize that it was written as one script and then split in half. That can cause problems. Characters that might have bigger roles in part 2 seem like wasted time in part 1 and vice versa. People disappearing with no resolution because part 2 has the resolution. None of this ruins the movie for me, but I understand if it left a sour taste for others. But I do have a theory that would sort of explain it, and there are ways to do it so it doesn't turn into an "it was all a dream" solution or convoluted speech from Colonel Sanders about human will anomalies in Zion. I think the AI is running a simulation in real life. Yes, it's basically MGS2, but stay with me. Everything in this movie is a callback to every other Mission Impossible movie. movie. I'm not gonna go over every one, but the train, the sandstorm, recruiting a thief like Naya, all the double agents, motorcycle riding, running, bringing Kittredge back at all feels spurious. Even the Dutch angles and crossing the line during shot reverse shots. It's fun for us, obviously, but if this were real life, each of the movies would be illustrating the most intense missions that Ethan has been involved in, so the entity would know about them and could set things in motion that would create them. The one missing piece that we didn't know about before was Gabriel, which is why the entity chose him. And if you want to train a bunch of Ethan Hunt super spies to do your bidding, this is what you put them through. It sort of works either way. Each of the movies was also the times that Ethan came closest to death, so statistically, try that again if you want him dead. This is just a theory. I'm not totally invested in it. I think that there are versions of it that can make this work. Choice is also a huge part of this movie. Personally, I feel that the way they're insinuating that every IMF agent chose prison, death, or IMF is a little silly. I know it's specific to Grace, but also now Ethan, and we already knew about Luther. Look, I get it. When an AI is telling you that your future is written, it makes choices feel futile, and the lesson everyone has to learn is to continue to make the right, just, moral, whatever choice. I'm down with that. I'm just hoping they clear up the lore, I guess. Ultimately, I have more to say, but I want to withhold judgment until part 2 comes out. I hear you screaming that each movie should be judged on its own merit, and you're 100% correct. I just think the negative stuff has been said enough, and I can speculate all day, but I'd rather just see what happens. At the very least, I can say that I'm interested to see where we go from here, and I'm not ready to burn the movie theater to the ground over Ilsa's death just yet. Next week, that one that I promised last week. We're taking our time with it, because I want it to be good. It's a good show. So go ahead and watch it real quick for next week. Bye-bye.
Assigned task invisibly and then self-destruct, leaving no trace.
A perfect covert operative.
Wait, not that way, not that way! What way? Which way, which way?
It doesn't matter.
Not that way! What way? Which way, which way? Not that way, not that way! What way, which way?
It doesn't matter.